Boom. All right, bam. Give me. Oh, yo, that was a little loud. Okay. Boom. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back. All right. I'm back. Got my nice mug of tea here. Alrighty. We are here. We are good to go. Yo, yo, yo. What is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and welcome to this week's installment of Cosmic Convergence. We are going to be covering, of course, the week ahead. I was going to do this yesterday, but then me and my wife did something a little impromptu. We went to a soccer game that we paid the tickets were pretty cheap, so we're like, figured, why not go watch this main soccer team play? And they weren't playing downtown, they were playing here in Kennesaw at the stadium at the school. So we figured, hey, might as well go and check them out, right? So had a good time. Of course, we won 3-0, and that was fun. So that's why I'm doing this today, because that was sort of like a last minute decision, and just wanted to enjoy ourselves, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, thank you all so much for joining. Of course, I'm going to, let's see, there used to be a way to like show the chat on the side, and I don't know how to do that. Can't remember. So I'm gonna just follow the chat on my phone. So I'm just gonna follow the chat on my phone. It's gonna be the easiest way to do it. So let's see. How come it's not even, see, that's the weird thing. It's not even showing that, let's see, view channel. Bam, there we go. All right, cool. So I got the chat here on my phone. Got the mic here. Everything is nice and tidy. I cleaned up the space today. We cleaned up the apartment today. So it does feel a lot nicer having cleaned up everything. But anyways, so yes, we are here at this week, coming off of a very awesome new moon in Taurus. I know you guys could feel that energy. It's I definitely could feel it. I think it was a very nice new moon, definitely a nice reset, kind of slowed things down a little bit and kind of brought things in perspective. Because of course the last new moon that we had was the new moon solar eclipse in Aries. Now that we have a new moon in Taurus, it does kind of reset the energy a bit from that eclipse. Now, generally, an eclipse's influence technically lasts about 6 months or so, but with every subsequent new moon, it does bring a new energy and it kind of cuts off the energy of the previous new moon. So this one being that it is a new moon in Taurus, being that it is sturdy, it's definitely bringing some fresh energy here, and especially accompanied with Jupiter, Uranus, now Venus, and this moon. Of course, we got to remember is exalted in Taurus, loves to be in Taurus. This was a nice new moon, and cutting off some of the energy of that new moon in Aries solar eclipse that we had, which definitely had things very frazzled and a bit of an upheaval and definitely intense and fiery and just trying to figure shit out, especially with the Mercury that was retrograde too, especially with it being with Chiron, especially with it being Eris. We kind of have been needing a break. This week provides a bit of that break. This new moon provides a bit of that break. Now, that's not to say that there won't be some challenges, but most of the challenges that come this week are going to be aspects that the moon is going to be making. So it's not really any of the other planets. We might have a couple of sextiles here and there, but it's really just going to be the moon. And the moon really this week, from now until the next time that we come together, it's going to move from Taurus to Leo. So even then, it's going to, when it goes into Cancer, yeah, it'll square, it'll square the Aries energy, and then it'll get to Leo, but by the time that we come back, the moon will be like barely into Leo. So, we do get a bit of a break here, and I think it's nice. I think it's good to have one of these, especially considering that the rest of the year is going to be pretty intense in general. The universe does this. It's not just going to throw wave after wave after wave of like really intense energy. There's going to be some lull periods. There's going to be some times where we can kind of collect ourselves. There's going to be times where we can actually think a little bit clearer, feel things out and not be as bogged down by really heavy, intense energy. Even though Taurus is, it is an earth sign and it's, fixed earth, so it's arguably the heaviest of the signs, but this can bring some fresh energy with it. And especially preparing for, the sun coming into Gemini, Jupiter coming into Gemini. And we got to remember that this moon is going to conjunct Jupiter, and this is going to be the last time that the moon conjuncts Jupiter in Taurus for quite a while. So we have to take that into consideration. Jupiter's been in Taurus for a good bit now, of course. It's going to go into Gemini by the end of the month. So we're going to start seeing moon conjunct Jupiter in Gemini instead of in Taurus. So it's going to definitely bring some interesting energy. And I think we can kind of feel that there's a bit of an air of change. Like we can feel in the breeze that there's some things that are going to be coming. And it can be very positive things, but I think we have to take this moment right now to recognize, the things that we do have in our life and really ask ourselves, what it is that we're manifesting? What it is that we're really are trying to bring into this reality? And of course, that's really even the whole topic of this cosmic convergence, is a lesson in manifestation. And I have this image here, of course, and you have this anime character. He's a farmer and he has the rows of plants and stuff like that. He's wiping the sweat off of his face and stuff, got the nice straw hat, and he's smiling. It's a grin. He's working hard, but he's smiling. And, I feel like with this new moon in Taurus, that's really what this is all about. It's a lesson in manifestation. And it's an opportunity for us to learn, what is manifestation? How do we actually manifest? How can we actually bring things from the mind and our hearts and that creativity and those ideas and actually bring them out into this physical reality? That's what this new moon in Taurus is really all about. Especially when you throw in the fact that Venus is here, Jupiter and Uranus are all here in Taurus. This is a lesson in manifestation. This is a lesson in how to not allow, our fears with all the Piscean energy, especially with Neptune at the end of Pisces, and with Saturn there, the fear of responsibility, if you will, because that's really how Saturn's kind of expressing itself in Pisces. It's like it gives us a chance to rest, but it's a fear of responsibility. And then, of course, all this Aries energy where we have to accept and embrace our unique self and, who we are, and who we are is not something that is, it's interesting. This is, like I said, it's about knowing who we are. And, of course, with Chiron there, with the North Node there, with the Mercury retrograde and Aries here, it definitely adds some spice to all the Aries energy. This was not just your simple Aries season that we had. It's not even like your simple Taurus season, but especially that Aries season, it wasn't just your simple Aries season that we had. And I think we went through that, and it's like, okay, who am I really? You know, I can acknowledge that I have some faults, I have some wounding here. I can acknowledge that, you know, where I'm supposed to go, where I'm heading, the North Star is to simply be who I am, be my raw, unique, authentic self. But what does that look like? Am I placating to others? Am I actually being truly authentic? Or am I outsourcing that to fit in with other people? Am I causing some sort of discord and disharmony by doing that? Or, you know, am I actually being true to myself? And these are the things that we had to consider, especially with the Mercury that retrograded there. We were all thinking about who in the world are we in the first place? And of course, Taurus is talking about what? Value, money, you know, that's what's really about. And it's, you know, thinking about like those more physical matters, possessions, stuff, things. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what Taurus is all about, and it's really also about manifestation. It's interesting how Taurus, if of course Venus is a traditional ruler of Taurus, but if any planet rules Taurus, it's the Earth itself. You know, it's the Earth itself. And the Earth itself, it does change. Even though it's fixed, it does change. But it changes over thousands and millions of years. Like the mountains that we see took, you know, they arose out of the sea at one point, and it took millions of years for them to come to where they are. And I think these are things that we kind of have to consider. And I think a lot of times what happens when in the, you know, manifestation is that we get a little impatient and we want things to happen immediately. I think that's kind of the trick to Taurus is look at their 12th house is Aries. So Taurus, their hidden zone, some of their hidden enemies is being too impatient, being too impulsive, and not putting in, you know, not realizing that putting in the hard work and the time and the effort will yield those results. It will yield a great crop. It will yield, you know, a great yield, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So, but we have to kind of remember, how is it that we manifest? I mean, what do we do? You know, so that's really what this whole talk is going to be about. I'm going to go throughout the week and kind of just show you what's really going to be happening. And like I said, it's an interesting week because it's honestly kind of chill. It's kind of chill as far as the astrology goes. It's really just the moon making aspects pretty much the whole time, and then of course we have a couple different things. We'll have the Sun Uranus conjunction, so that's going to be pretty interesting. That's really how the week kind of caps on Monday, is with it converges into the Sun conjuncting Uranus and Mercury exiting shadow. So we start off the week with a new moon in Taurus. And then we have the moon entering in Gemini, and then the moon's going to sextile some stuff. Then the moon's going to square some stuff and enter into Cancer, and then it's going to continue like that. And then we're going to see, like I said, on Monday, it's going to converge into two planets, technically two planets leaving shadow. Now, Mercury most certainly leaving shadow. Technically, Uranus leaves shadow. I'm going to show you guys that as well. I was actually really like surprised when I was like looking this up. I was like, wow. We have two planets technically leaving shadow at the end of this. So I think this is a great time to kind of utilize this time, utilize this energy, because it is a little bit slower. It might pick up a little bit in Gemini, but it's a little bit slower right now, and take advantage of this moment to kind of go over things, assess where you are right now, and take stock of what is going on. You know, maybe write some things down. Write down, this is valuable, that's valuable, I can part with this, I can keep that, I can work on this. And, you know, that's kind of how this week is going to go. But let's go ahead and, of course, hop into the transits themselves. I'm going to take a sip of my tea. Hopefully it's not too hot. It's like a mixture of chamomile, honey lavender, and, of course, I put some peppermint CBD, water-soluble CBD in there, too. So, cheers. It's probably too hot. It's probably too hot, so I'm gonna burn my tongue if I'm not careful. No, it's too hot, I could tell. Actually, I mean, it's hot, but it's not like super duper gonna burn my tongue hot. It's okay. We'll get back to it. So, but all right. So I have this set right now for Wednesday, but let's go back and look at the new moon that we saw there, right? So let's just take this back a day, and let's go to the new moon that we experienced yesterday evening, Tuesday night. So, not month. Let me switch this back to hours. There we go. So we had this new moon, of course, here at 18 degrees of Taurus, right? Now, this moon, like I said, very well aspected, or just in general. Like I said, moon exalted here in Taurus, so it's feeling good. Venus, of course, with it as well, Uranus and Jupiter. So this was a very powerful new moon. This was, I mean, if there's ever a opportunity to really just appreciate, where you are right now in life, even if things seem a little bit weird with the Uranian energy, right? Even if things seem a little bit weird with the Uranian energy, if there was ever a time to just appreciate where you are right now and to see where you can potentially expand upon things, this was it right here. We had Venus there at 10 degrees, so that's providing a great foundation for this new moon. Venus, of course, it rules the sign of Taurus. Then you have that new moon, right? So that brings about that fresh energy, if you will, And then, of course, Uranus is there. Now, Uranus does provide a bit of an awkward energy. Uranus doesn't really like to be here in Taurus, but it does help that the moon, which is exalted in Taurus, is technically dispositing this Uranus, and same with Venus. It's being disposited by the Venus that's in that house. So even though Uranus feels a little bit weird in Taurus, at least it has good company. At least it has good company. And then Jupiter's there. And Jupiter is beyond Uranus by this point, by 3 degrees. Now, their energy is waning, right? So it's like, even though it's 3 degrees away, you can say that their energy is still kind of affecting each other, but it's not as intense as it could be. But because Jupiter is such a large planet, I generally give it a pretty big orb of influence. So we're not going to just not feel the Jupiter-Uranian energy, but it's just going to be a little bit more on the waning side of it. But because Jupiter is beyond Uranus, this is about being able to see past the weirdness of the Uranus and Taurus, because that's really what it's all about. Uranus and Taurus is mixing things up. It's mixing up different alliances in the world. It's definitely a sort of a mad scientist right here. And this is Uranus and Taurus is literally trying to collect all of these different herbs and stuff like that and trying to mix them and trying to see what things go together. You know what I'm saying? Even though we pretty much know, you can eat that mushroom, not eat that mushroom, different things like that. Uranus is going to be trying a bunch of different things, right? But Jupiter, being that it is beyond Uranus at the time of this new moon, lets me know that we actually have the ability to have the vision to see past all the weirdness, to be able to see past all of the kind of the crazy, the weirdness, the static. I guess you say more of the negative aspect of Uranus, where you can get too caught up in the static, and it's the nervous system as well. You gotta think about that. Uranus is the nervous system. And being that it's a nervous system, it's electricity, and this is Earth, that's why this is such a great time, honestly, to do some grounding. This was a perfect new moon to do some grounding, but honestly, just this entire Taurus season, and even when the sun leaves, you'll still have Venus there and Uranus and Jupiter. So it's this is a great time to just ground. If you feel nervous at all, if you feel like there's a lot of electricity, ground yourself. This is the perfect time to do that. The perfect time to actually get outside and to walk in nature. If you could put your feet in the ground, on your bare feet on the ground or in the grass, even better. But at the very least, just getting outside and just appreciating nature. It's basic, but it's providing the reset that we need, and realizing that the medicine truly is the earth itself. You know what I'm saying? So that I like the fact that Jupiter is at 25 degrees and it's 3 degrees past Uranus. It gives us, like I said, this opportunity to, even though things may seem a bit weird and wonky, Uranus usually likes to have a solution for something. Remember, Uranus rules Aquarius. Aquariuses love to have solutions for things, but when Uranus is in Taurus, it's tough. I'm right now, Aquariuses, because their ruling planet is in Taurus and it doesn't really like to be there, Aquariuses are feeling very human right now, and they don't know what the fuck to do. That's why your Aquarians right now don't really have a lot of answers. It's been weird for the Aquarians. They don't really have a lot of answers. And Pluto's in their sign too. So it's who they even are is starting to transform. We haven't even really seen what Aquarius can really do yet, especially those of us who are alive right now. Because Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius in over 200 years. So That's the thing. Okay, if you're in Aquarius and you feel weird right now, you're on the right path. Like it makes sense, right? But like I said, with Jupiter here, it can give us some jovial energy and some opportunity to kind of see beyond the gates of this farm, if you will. Being able to see, it does give us an opportunity. It's like, you know what? We kind of have to master where we currently are, and then we can move beyond. I think that's going to be sort of like the weird trick when Jupiter goes into Gemini later on this month, is that we're going to have all these different ideas on how we can expand in many ways, but if you don't do the work while it's in Taurus, then you're not really going to be able to go too far when Jupiter goes into Gemini, because you got to remember, Jupiter falls, or it's in detriment in Gemini, because that's the thing we have to remember. So this is a great opportunity for us to, in many ways, master where we are in our current level. I think there's an element here where we all do want to go to the next level, right? I'm going to just use a Pokemon reference because I can. I think there's a level here where it's like we want to go battle the Elite Four, right? But we have to go through Victory Road first. And maybe you go to the Elite Four and maybe you get wiped in the first round. You have to face 4 trainers, 4 like master level trainers before you get to the champion, right? And maybe you get wiped by the first trainer. You know what that means? You have to grind. This is a grinding time. All this Taurus energy, this Aries, this Pisces, this is a grinding time. Look at all of the energy on one side of the zodiac. Forget all of this, right? These are just asteroids and whatever like that, and south of blah, blah, blah. Forget all of that, okay? Everything is from Pluto to Jupiter. And this piece of the pie has one piece of pepperoni on it that's about to fall off, right? All the pepperoni, all of the toppings are on a quarter of the pizza. And in many ways, it's almost like everyone's fighting for these pieces of pizza because it has the good stuff on it, right? But this is where we are in our life right now. There's such a big focus on just a few spots, such a major focus on just a few spots, right? And we're forgetting about this other little slice of pizza that has like one little piece of pepperoni that's hanging on. Not to mention it's the only one that's retrograde. So we're kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I want that piece of pizza. But everything's right here. So there's a bit of a crunch, right? But we got all this grounding Taurus energy to kind of help us. And that's what this new moon was really all about. I can go ahead and read for you guys too, 18 degrees of Taurus. Since I do like doing that for you guys, I use my resources, you know what I'm saying? Taurus is very resourceful. That's the other thing too about this. Don't be afraid to use your resources. And Taurus, 18 degrees. Let's read this. I just mentioned how, Taurus rules the earth and how even though it looks like it's static, it changes over time, but just a long, long period of time, right? And of course, the Sabian symbol. A new continent is rising out of the ocean. This symbol shows the rising of a new place, a place to be, a new country, or somewhere to strive for a new life. It implies that you can find that extra spark to create a brand new original opportunity. This pictures the beginning of something that holds enormous potential for the future. There is much work to be done developing this into something fertile and productive. A whole new field of activity is coming to light. What you have done in the past has led you to this, but these new beginnings need to be met with a fresh sense of purpose and possibility. Enormous potentiality emerging. Sudden eruptions of talent or fields of endeavor. New trends and ways of being. Atlantis and ancient underwater cities. Foreign nations. Continually seeking new worlds, not finding a place and cooperation in the existing one. Moving on constantly without finishing up with the old fickleness. Yeah, that's not finishing what we started, you know what I'm saying? Or just constantly moving on and not really giving anything any juice. That's the thing about this. We can't just expect to throw seeds on the ground and they grow. We have to constantly tend to them. But this is a new moon that is like really, it's almost like it was just clearing a lot of ground for you to manifest the greatest things in your life. That's what this new moon is about. But it's like I said, it's going to require some hard work. It's going to require some honest to good, hard work, integrity, and not feeling like you need to constantly jump to the next thing, the new thing. That's going to be the trick with this new moon, of course. Why? Well, look, I mean, we have Mercury on Chiron during this. So there's going to be a desire maybe to want to just jump to the next quick thing. Mercury is speeding up. Mercury is tired of being in Aries. It's trying to get home to Gemini. And it still has to trudge through Taurus land. But it's trying to get back to Gemini home, right? That's what's on Mercury's mind. So that's the thing. If we get too caught up in it wanting to look a certain way, and we get too caught up in just thinking about he said, she said, and this happened to me, and that happened to me, and I don't know if I can do it, and then you're going to find yourself not taking advantage of such an incredible opportunity to manifest the most amazing manifestations in your life. You know? So, and like I said, it does require some hard work. It's going to require some sacrifice. It's going to require some clearing away. That's the one thing about Taurus that I don't think we think about, or manifestation in general, is that we think just loving something is enough. Or, we think just loving it is enough. We think that, just feeling really passionate about it is enough. If that was the case, then, that's the thing about it. It's not enough. If Taurus is manifestation, right? Well, let's look at, how to get there. Well, the 5th house of Taurus is Virgo, right? So, yeah, when it comes to the manifestation energy, if we're like kind of personifying that energy, and that's Taurus, so we just take Taurus as the 1st house and go to Virgo, that's the 5th house, right? And that is the house of creativity, passion, love. That's Virgo. So we can get very, very critical about our manifestations. And a lot of manifestations will stop right there because we'll get overly critical on how it looks, on the creativity and the passion and the process. And then if we're even lucky enough to get to Libra, that is the 6th house of Taurus, and that is the house of compromise. That's the house of trying to find balance and harmony. So when it comes to your manifestations, there's going to be some sort of balance. There's going to be some sort of give and take. And a lot of people don't want to do that. If you want to manifest a new car, that means that you're going to have to give up some of your leisure time so you can make more money, so you can get the money and buy the car. Balance. Give and take. But a lot of times our manifestations, sometimes they won't even make it to Virgo. A lot of times they'll just stop at like Gemini, because we'll start to think about it, and then it's like we'll get too caught up in the thought realm, and that's the 2nd house, and we may not necessarily even value, maybe the thoughts that are coming through, or wanting to communicate it to the universe and what we want. And I guess that would be in 3rd house, actually, if you think about it from a more mental state, then our emotions kind of get involved. And then this is when we start listening to people, family. That's the thing, too. It's like family will stop a lot of manifestations because they won't necessarily get it. And that doesn't mean that, family can't be good or anything like that, or they can't encourage us, but a lot of manifestations will stop at the family part because they'll get in our head. It's the 3rd house of Taurus. But, I mean, that's how you manifest, though. You value, all right, you want to bring something in, you personify it, you become it, right? Okay, then you value that. You continue to speak it into existence. A lot of people get stuck right here. They'll make their vision boards, they'll do all that sort of stuff. That's very Gemini, 2nd house of Taurus, right? But then they'll get stuck right here, right? Because it's fun to just think about it, right? It's fun to think about it. Okay. Or to value it at least. But it's since the 2nd house, it becomes more physical. So that's what I'm saying. That's the vision board. Vision boards are Gemini, the 2nd house of Taurus. That's what that is, right? Cancer, that's 3rd house, right? So then You start thinking about it a lot. Maybe you have some emotions about it. And then usually like your close friends and your family start to kind of, they start to put their 2 cents in and they start to get in your head a little bit. And then fourth house of Taurus is Leo, right? So then that's when you're like really trying to feel things out. Whether it's like, do I really love this? How do I really feel about this manifestation? How do I really feel about this? How, like trying to do this thing, And then could that passion get drowned out because it's a Leo energy in the fourth house, so it could potentially get drowned out by the emotions. You get to Virgo, and then that's when you're trying to perfect it, and then you're like kind of overly thinking and being overly critical about how it looks, and then you have to make that sacrifice with the Libra because it's the sixth house. And that's the sixth house. That's also the day-to-day work. So what day-to-day things are you doing to make that manifestation happen? What is your give and take? How are you finding the balance, if you will? And then, that's how it manifests. That's how the manifestation happens, right? But a lot of times we get caught up in these first few stages. We can't even get to the sixth house Libra energy to Taurus. So that's the interesting thing about this too, because we have some major eclipses that are going to be coming in Libra season, and you will see, well, this is a new moon that we can kind of look back on like, wow, that was a really good new moon. Like if you do the work right now, then you will see some freaking awesome manifestations by the time that we get to this Libra energy, by the time we get to Libra season in the fall, right? That's when you're going to be harvesting, right? For the winter, preparing for the winter. That is the beginning of the harvest, right? So we have to just take these things into consideration, right? So we have that new moon in Taurus, of course. We have the Chiron that's going to conjunct Mercury. I talked about that. That new moon, of course, is in sextile to Saturn too. So that's a nice little aspect there. It's bringing up this opportunity to not be afraid of the hard work, you know what I'm saying? But also just just knowing that if we put in the hard work, we can actually enjoy the fruits of our labor. So it's just kind of opening up these great opportunities that can come, and whether or not we can really enjoy the fruits of our labor, but it's just Saturn's kind of reminding us, like, hey, you can enjoy this. I know you want to kind of expand a bit because Jupiter's there in Taurus. Well, let's master where we are right now. Let's work on where we are right now because you're actually set up to do some pretty awesome things. And God, the universe is already clearing way for you to expand. But the only way that you're going to learn how to plant 100 crops or 100 plants is if you learn how to plant one plant and have it survive. You can plant 100 plants, but then it's like, keeping them to actually survive and actually to mature and to actually bear fruit is another thing. We'll learn how to master doing 1 and then 5 and then 10. Because the more that you have, the more responsibility that's going to be. But the more abundance that it also brings as well. So those are the things we have to remind ourselves of. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves with this. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves with this energy. But we also can really, like I said, set that tune for the rest of the year and how it's going to go. Now, we come to right now, of course, we have, of course, the moon moving into Gemini. The moon moved into Gemini literally maybe an hour ago, right? So that does bring about a bit of a fresh energy as well. The moon here in Gemini, now we're out of that new moon phase. Jupiter moves to 26 degrees of Taurus, is getting really close to Gemini. Mercury, of course, coming off of the conjunction of Chiron. So Wednesday's kind of an interesting day because not a whole lot's happening here, of course. We will see the moon. It will make an aspect over to Saturn, of course. Over to Pluto pretty much as soon as it comes in. But the other interesting thing about this moon is that it did not go void of course. Now, what is a void of course moon? It means that it's not going to make any more aspects to a planet before it comes into another sign. So, but because Neptune was here at 29 degrees, the moon in Taurus ended up sextiling this Neptune at the last degree before it entered into Gemini. That's pretty rare in of itself. That usually doesn't happen. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. So we're getting hit Usually when the moon goes void of course, we kind of get like a little bit of a break, but this one we got hit again. Now this was a sextile too, though, to Neptune, and even though it's at the last degree, this is like, you can have the biggest dreams right now and really make them really big and manifest some awesome stuff, but are you going to let the fear kind of get in the way of how it's all going to look, if you will? Are you going to let the fear get in the way of like wanting it to look perfect, or actually doing the hard work? Or are you falling for some sort of grand illusion? Because that's what Neptune here is at the end of Pisces. It's like a grand illusion that we could be afraid of. But it's like I said, it's an illusion itself. So it's not really the thing that we really should be worried about or afraid of. But now the moon moves into Gemini. And now that's, whenever the moon goes into Gemini, it's like our emotions kind of just do like these little, you know what I'm saying? Whereas it's grounded in Taurus and really feeling out the energy, moon in Gemini is like, it's very zippy. It's very zippy. So that's the thing that we're going to have to consider with this Wednesday. And that's, like I said, it just happened. So most of the day, the moon was in Taurus. Like I said, making the sextile to Neptune, which brings up an opportunity for us to not fall for the delusion or the fear that everything's going to shit, that the whole world's going to shit, because the moon is in Taurus and the earth rules Taurus. Like, this whole idea that the whole world is going to shit. And the world's transforming. It always does. And societies rise and fall. It's something that just is a part of the game. It is what it is. And that's just where we are with that. And the moon moves into Gemini. So, and now, of course, we go on to Thursday. And we're going to see, of course, on Thursday, not really a whole lot happening. It's going to be mostly the moon making aspects. We want to see the moon make a sextile over to Mars at 6 degrees, right? And then we're going to see at the tail end of the day, we're going to see the moon square the nodes, right? So, well, not square the nodes, sextile the nodes. It's going to sextile the north node and trine the south node. So once again, like I said, it's really just the moon making aspects. Now this, and because it's the moon, these energies, we're going to feel them pretty quickly. I mean, they're not going to last super, super long. So the sextile to Mars can be a moment of inspiration, if you will. We may feel inspired to actually go for something, to do something, to act upon something. And then, of course, the sextile to the north node is going to present it like an opportunity. It's like, hey, yeah, definitely you can go for this thing and something great can come of it, you know? And it will be really great just for your character and who you are. The trine over to the south node, it's a harmonious aspect, of course, but it's also saying like, we can actually in many ways heal from some of the imbalances that we may feel in life, maybe some of the inadequacies that we feel in our relationships. There can actually be some great healing that comes here by simply being inspired to take that action with the Mars, and also just knowing with the sextile to the north node that anything is possible, and looks like this trine over to the south node it can be a good thing. It can be a great thing where we can actually kind of heal some of the past and actually start to kind of get over some of the things in the past and not allow those things to kind of weigh us down. You know what I'm saying? Now, if we continue to play the victim game, the blame game and shit like that, then we're going to just this moon sextile Mars and trine the south node and all this sort of stuff. That this could just be really petty arguments that just come out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And it really would be petty, especially considering the fact that the moon trines Black Moon Lilith as it's sextiling Mars, pretty much. And Mars is opposed Black Moon Lilith. It's like, you don't want to get caught up in some sort of petty argument because of the inability to, try and find some type of balance and harmony within your relationships. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be in that place. Because I think South Node of Libra is definitely looking for some sort of perfect solution or some type of perfect compromise. And it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It may appear perfect, especially with it being halfway through Libra, which is like the best degree of Libra is 15 degrees, but it's you don't want to fall for that trap. So this is about like it may be a day where Like, it could be a great day to just agree to disagree. It could be a great day to just agree to disagree. This might be a day where we see some more developments in the whole Kendrick and Drake rap battle and stuff like that. This could actually be a day where we kind of see more of it come out. It would be great if they could just. I know some people think it's great for like the culture and for rap, whatever like that. I personally don't really give that much of a shit, if I'm being honest. And honestly, I think rap in itself needs a entire overhaul. Personally, just the content in our rap music, I just think it needs an overhaul. I think it needs to be more uplifting. You know what I mean? No, I mean I listen to my fair share of like ghetto rap, whatever like that. Shoot, but like it's just I know how to compartmentalize it and put it in its place and stuff. But I'm just saying, like in general, I think we should bring more like a high vibe energy to that art form, if you will. But this Thursday will be an interesting day to see what kind of happens, especially considering the fact, like I said, Kendrick, he's a Gemini, so with Pisces moon. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And of course, the moon, what is it going to do? It's going to square Saturn, like right at the end of the night, too. So we're not really going to feel that, but it's going to be building throughout the day, if you will. And that's like right going into Friday. Unless you're on the West Coast, then that's like your late evening, And, since Kendrick Lamar is from California, he's probably going to feel that. I don't know what degree his moon is, but I know he's a Pisces moon as well. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to feel that. And there's probably going to be some sort of challenge maybe rebuttal. I wouldn't be surprised if Drake puts out another thing first, and then Kendrick's like, should he put out something? Because as far as I know, the last one was Drake's rebuttal with The Heart. As far as I know. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next. So, but I think that's all just very interesting too. So, we're about to. It's that whole situation is very interesting. But like I said, Thursday seems like a pretty chill day. But like I said, it can provide some opportunity to really move forward, especially in our relationships and our relationship to ourselves, and to really start to think more positive about who we are and our character and what we came here to do and how we can move forward despite some of the weirdness, despite some of we may not necessarily know, because like I said, Mercury is still in shadow. We're still trying to figure some things out. That's okay. It's perfectly okay, So we still have all this wonderful Taurus energy to help ground it out. Of course, moving into Friday, things start to get a little bit dicier, We start to see some of those squares that I mentioned earlier. We're going to see, it's really just the moon square Saturn, and then it makes some sextiles. So it's going to sextile Chiron. It's going to sextile. Does it sextile Mercury too? Yeah, I think so. Sextiles Mercury. It sextiles Chiron. Sextiles Eris. So we're going to see all that energy, pretty much all throughout. Like Friday morning, essentially, is what we'll see that. Let's see. So, yeah, boom. It's going to make the sextile over to Mercury, right? So, like I said, providing some opportunities, But this is Aries energy still, so it can bring about some fire and some passion, absolutely. The Moon Gemini, too. I'm telling you, Kendrick is probably going to drop something. Or at the very least, honestly, I hope that he doesn't drop it until later. Because if he waits until the moon is in Gemini, then, that's just... it'll be whatever he writes is just probably going to end it. I'm not even going to lie. So I feel like it would be better for him to wait to rebuttal until after the moon leaves Gemini. That's what I think, but we'll see what he actually does and stuff. So, but the moon will make those sextiles too. And of course, it does sextile Eris, the planet of discord, right? The asteroid of discord. So we have to take that into consideration. But then, of course, right at the tail end of the day, we're going to see the moon make the square over to Neptune. And this is going to be where things get funky. Because this is, like I said, because the moon moves so quickly, we don't feel the energy when it makes an aspect for a very long time. But because this is where it's at, we have never in our life seen moon at 29 degrees of Gemini square Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. We've never seen this. This could be neuroticism. This right here could be, I hate to say it, this could be schizophrenia. Like this energy can bring about some really intense, edgy, mental, psychological kind of energy. This could be some people's like dark night of the soul. Like I'm telling you, like this is gonna be like some crazy ass shit with this, and then it's gonna move into Cancer, and it's gonna be like holy crap. Like, so honestly, Friday night, you know what, I always do this pretty much with every single thing. It's like, do I recommend going out this weekend or do I not recommend going out this weekend? I wouldn't go out this weekend. Now, I'm working this whole weekend, so I'm just going to be at work. But Moon at 29 Gemini, squaring Neptune. Not only that, but it's going to be here with freaking Eros. Ugh. If you go out and you think that a one-night stand is going to actually manifest into a long-term relationship, good luck. Good luck. Like, it's just probably not going to work. I'm just being real. This is probably not going to work. I don't think that going to the club or going out and having that one-night stand with a moon on Eros squaring Neptune, I just cannot see that relationship working out. I mean, yeah, sure, Venus is in Taurus, but I can't see that really panning well, especially considering the fact that we've never even felt this energy before. Not at this edgy of a degree. Not at the last degree of the zodiac. So, I caution you. Like, seriously. Like, I'm not BSing y'all. Like, just be careful with this energy. Remember, Pisces, what does it rule? It rules drugs. It rules overdoses, hospitals, prisons, and Moon in Gemini, that's the thoughts. And like that, this can be like some like some really like mental fragmenting kind of energy if you're not careful, you know? Now, the positive part of this is that this can definitely spur some amazing creativity, if you will, if you allow this to spur some amazing creativity. And fortunately, with that sun in Taurus, it should help to ground it as well, so it's not as neurotic. But this is a very neurotic square. I'm just being honest. So it's just like, just keep that in mind, if you will. All right. Now, like I said, the good thing about this is the fact that the moon goes into Cancer, so it will feel a little bit better afterwards, but man, like, this will be a ride. Like, I just be careful. Just be careful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. Just be careful, all right? So, like, Friday, it's pretty much what we have. The moon's going to move into Cancer, right? And, you know, they're going to Saturday, right? So you wake up Saturday, and hopefully you didn't lose your mind the night before. Dreams will probably be off the charts. I'd imagine the dreams will be off the charts going into Saturday. But, you know, we're going to see the moon. Of course, what's it going to do? It's going to square Mars on Saturday. So you see how it's the moon making all the aspects pretty much? It's been the moon. That's what it's been. The only thing that we've had so far is Chiron conjunct Mercury. And that was on Tuesday. So by the time you guys are watching this, it already happened. Wednesday, moon in Gemini. Thursday, moon sextiles. Friday, moon squares and moon sextiles and moving into Cancer. It's pretty much what it's been. Right? It's just the moon doing that stuff. So I think it's really important to pay attention to your emotions this week. And to kind of, like, if you can nail down what you feel, I think it's really, really important. Like, where is that thing? I had. Oh, I'll be right back. All right. I have this really cool list here. It's a feelings list. I got this list when I did a event. I attended an event where it was like a kind of, yeah, getting in touch with your emotions kind of event and stuff like that. And we had like a couple of worksheets. I ended up throwing some of them away, but I kept the feeling list because there's like so many feelings on here, and I know I've probably felt every single one of these, and you probably have as well. But generally, a lot of times when people ask us how do you feel, we're like, oh, we're good, I'm good, I'm all right, I'm fine, I'm mad, I'm sad. But there's a lot more on here, and I think this would be a good week to maybe print off a list like this and maybe carry it with you so you can pinpoint how you're feeling, you know? And it kind of breaks it up into different categories, right? So, like for the accepting/open one, calm, centered, content, fulfilled, patient, peaceful, present, relaxed, serene, trusting. Imagine if someone asked you, like, oh, how are you doing today? And you responded with trusting. They'll probably look at you like, what? What? Trusting? People probably think you're weird for saying something like that. There's some other ones here, like, right? So if you're angry or annoyed, you can specify agitated, aggravated, bitter, content, cynical, disdain, disgruntled, disturbed, edgy, exasperated, frustrated, furious, grouchy, hostile, impatient, irritated, irate, moody, on edge, which is the same thing as edgy, outraged, pissed. That's a good one. I like pissed. Resentful, upset, vindictive, right? Here's some that a lot of people are probably feeling under the stressed, intense feelings. Anxious. Hey, me, yeah. Burnt out, cranky, depleted, edgy, exhausted, frazzled, overwhelmed, rattled, rejecting, restless, shaken, tight, weary, worn out. Let's look at some of the other ones. Courageous/powerful, adventurous, brave, capable, confident, daring, determined, free, grounded, proud, strong, worthy, valiant. I love the word valiant. It's one of my favorite ones on here. So it's like, they even have body sensations on here too. They even have body sensations. And especially when the sun is here, especially with that new moon in Taurus, these body sensations and being able to kind of pin them down is probably very, very important. So I think having resources like this will be very, very important. Now, with the moon in Cancer squaring Mars, we may feel irritated. We may feel some of these different things, you know. We may feel frustrated, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe we are feeling courageous. Maybe we are feeling valiant, you know. And considering that Mars is in the 10th house to this Cancer moon, so that takes on more of like a Capricornian kind of thing. It's like, are we going to take responsibility in many ways for these feelings that we may be having or coming up? Are we going to blame other people? Because these feelings are coming out of you. A lot of times, like, we'll be like, oh, you made me feel this way. I'm like, that's not necessarily true. We have to look at how we're responding and how we're reacting. The moon is your response and your reaction, right? So we have to think about that. You know, are we just going to be simply reacting? The moon square Mars can make people to be very, very reactive, you know. But this is, of course, a moon that's at home in Cancer and a Mars that's at home in Aries, right? So, but look what's with Mars, North Node, Chiron, Aries, Mercury. Mercury that's desperately trying to get out of Aries, right? So it's going to provide a bit of an interesting energy, you know. Moon's at +10, Mars at +6. So as far as like the energy goes, so yeah, that could be a day where maybe your emotions might get the best of you. But if you can channel those emotions into a positive, then that's where you really want to go, right? So we'll see that Mercury conjuncts Eris, earlier in the day on Saturday. So we do have that. The other interesting thing is that Uranus actually hits 23 degrees. And this is important because this is the degree that Uranus retrograded at. So we come back to this spot, finally. And that's pretty important too. It's very important, actually. So Saturday's going to provide a bit of an interesting energy because, like, once again, it doesn't seem like a whole lot's happening because it's mainly just the moon making aspects. But there's going to be like some nice little lessons kind of like tucked in here and there. And I think it's going to be important for us to, throughout the week, constantly ask ourselves, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? I think that's going to be very, very important, especially when it comes to manifesting whatever it is that we're wanting to manifest. This is a good week to kind of check in with ourselves, to become more intimate with who we are. That's really what this is about. We have to learn how to become a little bit more intimate with who we are and stuff like that, so we can carry this vision further, if you will. So now, that moon, of course, going into Sunday, that's when it squares the nodes. Of course, that's going to be overnight. So by the time that we really wake up here on the East Coast, that moon's going to be coming off of the square to the nodes, right? And not only that, but the nodes finally move off the 15th degree. So that's kind of important. Now, the moon does trine Saturn early in the day on Sunday. So that's nice, of course. That's a nice aspect. Definitely could bring up some harmonious energy. Maybe we can heal some of these different aspects when it comes to our reactions and our home, our sanctuary, and not being afraid, to put things in the places that they need to go and stuff, So I think that can be a nice little energy on Sunday. And then, of course, the moon is going to square Chiron. It can't just all be good, right? So it's like maybe the day starts off kind of nice with the moon trining Saturn, but then it comes into the square with Chiron. So maybe if you're hanging out with your family at this point, some of you guys might be eating, whatever like that, and then they bring up that shit that triggers you and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it starts off kind of nice. Maybe if you go to church service, yeah, maybe you have like a good sermon, a good service, whatever like that. But if you don't do that, maybe you just have like a nice little morning, whatever like that. But then it gets to like this moment, and then your freaking Aunt Betty like pisses you off, or Uncle Joe does something creepy, and it's like, and then this square to the Chiron happens, and it's like, oh crap! It just can potentially rehash, a feeling, if you will. And then it's like, well, crap. It's like, am I going to identify with that wounding or that hurt, or am I going to, decide to heal and move forward and learn from this and not keep picking at a scab, because this moon squaring Chiron can be like picking at a scab. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's really important while the moon is in Cancer and the sun is approaching Uranus that if you do kind of find yourself in a situation like that, and if people don't necessarily back off, you got to learn how to set that proper emotional boundary. Maybe just remove yourself from the situation, because, you may be deciding you're not going to pick at the scab anymore, but if someone else decides to continue to pick up at that scab or that wound, then this will be a moment where hopefully you can politely set that boundary, and if they keep going, then you just be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and go home. I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a good evening. You know what I'm saying? And just leave it at that. Don't really fight back. Don't really like feed too much into the energy and shit, because then that's just going to create a bunch of chaos. You don't want to do that. And of course, that's Mother's Day, right? So it's like some people are going to get into fights with their mothers on Mother's Day. I'm just saying, like, Mother's Day I'm going to be working. So it's like, I wish I could spend time with my mom, but I'm going to be at work. So, but this is definitely going to, there's some shit from the past is probably going to come up with some families and stuff like that, right? The moon square Chiron on Mother's Day. Not really the easiest energy to deal with, I'm not gonna lie, right? So it's like we have to take that into consideration. Now, granted, it's a fast moving aspect. It's the moon, so it moves fast. It's not gonna last that long. All right, so take that into consideration. Moon is going to conjunct Apollo. It's going to sextile Jupiter before making its way into Leo on Monday. So on Monday, of course, we're going to see this moon make its way into Leo Monday morning. And this is going to be the day where things kind of pop a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So for what can be relatively a peaceful week, or at very least a week that's going to really teach us about the process of manifestation, this moon is going to come into Leo, and it's definitely going to want to bring some creativity and some uplifting energy, if you will, right? But now the moon, of course, is going to start to square all the Taurus energy, right? But it's not going to quite get there just yet. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday, but we'll see. Actually, do I work on Tuesday? Actually, I think I work on Tuesday, so it might actually be Wednesday when we come back, because I work until like 9 o'clock on Tuesday. So yeah, more than likely it will be actually Wednesday that we come back. So we'll see that moon come here, and then of course it does end up squaring Mercury before going into Leo. But like I said, that's going to be like overnight, so we're not really going to experience that too much. But the Sun-Uranus conjunction happens on Monday morning. And that's how the tone is set for the day. And that's a freaking big deal, of course. All right. So now this is going to definitely bring to light some interesting things with this. We have to also consider that Mercury is going to be exiting shadow on this day as well. So, and technically, Uranus will be exiting shadow as well. So that's why Monday is going to be a pretty interesting day. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some interesting news, but I don't know if the news will come per se on Monday. I just think that it's going to make for a very quantum kind of day. So it may be a day that almost seems eerily quiet, but by the time that the moon gets further into Leo on Tuesday and starts to square all of the energy, that's when we kind of really see it like erupt and like start to make some big booms, if you will. So, because if we just go back and look, you know, Mercury's at 27 degrees. Let's just go back to where Mercury retrograded, right? So, let's see, 2705, 2712. So, it retrograded at 2712. Mercury will hit 28 degrees this upcoming Monday, right? So, 2712. And let's look at Uranus too, right? So, we'll see how far Uranus went. So we go back, and then let's see, let's go forward one, and then let's go back. So bam. So 2304, right, is where Uranus retrograded at back last August. So that's 2304, right? Now if we go to Monday, what we're going to see is that the Sun and Uranus, ironically, conjunct when Uranus is technically out of shadow. Or it's like right there. Like it's like wild how close it is. We're talking like right there, right? 2305, 2306, so right there. Not only that, but Mercury is at 2713, which is the exact spot that it retrograded at. You can't make this shit up. So, and the moon will be at 29 degrees of Cancer at that point, trining Neptune. So, that lets me know, honestly, that even though that's very intense and that's very quantum, that's a major shift, but it's nothing to be afraid of. But I think it might be painted as something to be afraid of. That's the thing about it. don't fall for the delusion. Don't fall for the trick on Monday, or whatever happens on Monday that they eventually release to us on Tuesday, or whatever comes out. Do not fall for the fucking trick, because this is honestly a very positive shift, but it's happening at the quantum level. And generally when it comes to a planet coming out of retrograde, you want to look at it coming out of the full degree, right? But because this is Uranus, and because Uranus is quantum and it rules the quantum field, I'm counting it. It's technically out of shadow, albeit barely. It is technically out of shadow. So that's pretty huge that we get this conjunction right there. And with Mercury just getting ready to exit shadow as well. So we have to take that into consideration with that. Because we'll see by the end of the day, Mercury hits 28 degrees and is officially out of shadow. By this point, the moon will be at 8 degrees of Leo, getting ready to make trines to Mars and the North Node. All right. And then coming to Tuesday, of course. And Tuesday morning, we're going to see the moon. They're at 12 degrees, getting ready to trine the North Node and sextile the South Node. But it's also, of course, going to make the square over to Venus at 18 degrees. Right? We might not necessarily see anything until Wednesday, to be fair. But I wouldn't be surprised if something pops. It makes an awkward stare over to Saturn. They're at 17 degrees. While it's getting ready to square Venus. Actually, it's going to be at 19 degrees. So it's going to get kind of sexy on Tuesday with that moon in Leo. So I would say, honestly, this whole week, like I said, it's a lesson in manifestation. Are you willing to put into hard work? Are you willing to, be patient here? Not so much to where you just let life pass you by, but you take some, you put in some hard work, you put in some honest, good hard work, and you're consistent with it. And you learn that in order to manifest things, is going to require some give and take. You can't just throw seeds on the ground and expect them to grow. You actually have to get down and dig up dirt and plant it deep enough, first of all, so it can anchor itself into the ground and then grow. That means that you have to remove something in order to plant something so it can grow. And that's the thing too. So there's an element of sacrifice that's coming here, but hopefully it's nothing that's super crazy that you have to sacrifice either. It should honestly be something that is obvious. Like the sacrifice should be obvious. And it's probably something that you've been knowing that you've been needing to let go of, but you've probably just been not willing to let go of. Not yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's that's the thing about this. So I think it could be a very powerful week. I think it could be a very positive week. But yeah, it's going to require, like I said, a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of, some give and take, and like I said, it's probably something that you already know that needs to be given up. I know it is for me. So, and my hand was kind of forced too. That's the thing. You don't want to get to the point where you're like almost forced to do it. Now, fortunately for me, it wasn't so badly forced that it was just detrimental per se to like my health or whatever. But it does concern my health. I will say that. So, and I'll be honest with you guys. Like last week, I was having some heart palpitations, and it happens, right? This was like last Wednesday or whatever like that. I was having some heart palpitations. It's happened before here and there, not too often, but it would only last for like a few minutes or so. But this time it lasted a long time. It lasted all day. It's just on and off all day. And I got nervous. Went to the emergency room. Got tests, got EKGs, got two EKGs. I was super stressed out, super anxious. My dad and my stepmother came out too, and of course my wife was there with me. And I'm just like, I was freaking out because I was wondering what's wrong with my heart, what's going on. Turns out they couldn't really tell. Like mostly everything was fine. A couple of things were my potassium was like slightly low, you know what I mean? And there was like one like thing that was like slightly high, but nothing that was like life threatening or anything like that. And then when they redid the test, it actually went down, so it was even better. But they were like, yeah, we don't really necessarily know, but you seem like you're all right, so we just recommend just going to a cardiologist. I'm like, all right. So that's what I did today. And once again, they're like, oh, things seem mostly normal. I mean, we don't really know. And even honestly, I would say that pretty much like Wednesday, the palpitations were very unnerving and they were happening more frequently throughout the day. Thursday, it was like that too. Friday, it was starting to taper off, but it was still a little unnerving. Saturday was probably like, I guess, like the last day where I had like the most unnerving, like this moment with the heart palpitations. And then Sunday kind of chilled off. Monday chilled off. And of course, like Tuesday chilled off, and now we're at Wednesday. And it's a lot better than it was a week ago. But like a week ago, like literally like a week ago to like this moment, I was like freaking out. Freaking out. So what's wrong with my heart? What's going on? You know? But it's put some things in perspective. And I have to address is like, you know what? Even though I probably am okay, you know, there are some things that I know that I need to release. THC being one of them. So I have my various vapes over here and my flower that's a little bit higher in THCA. I have it over there in a box ready to take to work for anybody that wants it. And all I'm keeping is my high CBD flower. That's all I'm keeping for the moment, you know, which is like the THC levels in that's like generally like point, like it's like under 1%. Such a small amount that it doesn't do that. But since THC can potentially raise your heart rate and stuff like that, and not only that, it just doesn't really work for me like it used to. No matter how many times I try to reclaim that energy, reclaim that feeling, it doesn't really work that way. So I rather just eliminate it from my life and just get over it and just move forward. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And we all have something like that. And for me, like I said, since it's something that I've already have been making peace with, and even though I have the various, like the flower that's a little bit higher in THC, I don't really use it that often. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it's not a major loss. It's a little sad, but it's not a major loss. So it's like, and my hand's kind of forced because honestly, if there is something going on with my heart, I don't really want to have to, why would I introduce that into the equation? You know what I mean? So it's like, even though like it does seem like everything's fine, it's okay, but we're going to do our due diligence and research and try to figure out what's actually going on and stuff like that. So it's like, even though I feel fine, I feel great, I might have had one since being here, but it's nowhere near as debilitating as it was a week ago. You know, like especially mentally, it's mostly mentally debilitating because when I would think about it and get anxious about it, would happen more. But now I tell people, it's like, literally, I honestly can't tell if I'm still having them. Like, I think I am still technically because I felt a few here and there, but it's not happening nearly as often. But it's like, my hand's kind of forced for like a medical, like a health thing. And it's kind of makes sense. Taurus is my 6th house. But I think this is interesting that happened like literally right as Neptune hit that last degree, right? So that's the thing we have to consider too. So, you know, there's going to be some give and take here. There's going to be some level of sacrifice here, but we have to just know that by doing that, we are going to be really setting ourselves up to be manifesting some of the greatest things that we've ever manifested, you know. But it's going to, like I said, require us to kind of get down, get dirty, and get honest, and just, you know, realize that this manifestation is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that's just some like a quick fix type of thing. This is something that's going to be a little bit more sustained or whatever like that. You know, this is something that's going to require multiple steps, and that's okay. And I think that's why it's probably good right now, too, also to connect with people that have these more long-term projects and these more long-term visions for themselves and not just so caught up in like the day-to-day dopamine hits. And we all have our dopamine hits that we do, but like we got to start to fill our life up with these longer sustainable projects, which is going to bring about that longer. That's where the true happiness is. It's not from the quick little dopamine hits and the next high, if you will. It's going to come from being able to build something and to look back at it and be like, wow, I invested so much time into that, and now look at it, look how beautiful it is, and you can appreciate it. That right there is what a lot of people are looking for and what a lot of people are missing. And in an era right now where we are so concerned about how many likes we're going to get or how many followers we're going to get or like, and all that sort of stuff, what's really important, like I said, is, that work and that heart, that effort that we put into something that's a little bit more long-term. It's a little bit more sustained. You know what I mean? So take that into consideration this week. And I'll draw a few cards. I know I didn't really talk about each sign per se, but I'm going to honestly not draw this out too much longer. And I'm just going to let it kind of be. I'm going to let it be what it is. So I'll just draw cards pretty much for the whole collective. And then, like I said, my main recommendation for you guys, because like I said, it's not going to look perfect. It's not going to be perfect. So don't be concerned about that sort of thing, right? Just, start it. Do the thing, you know what I mean? And try not to get too much in your own way about it. But also, like, if you can, print off one of these lists with like a bunch of emotions on them and like carry it with you and see, it's like, all right, I'm feeling this right now. Okay, I'm feeling that. That is emotional intelligence if I haven't heard of it, And it may seem weird too. If you're like, if someone tell like if your boy or like, if your girls, whatever like that, be like, yo, how are you doing today? And you come out saying, you know what, I am feeling, and you just list off one of these words, like I'm feeling resigned, right? Which is under the word, what's under powerless. I'm like, resign? What do you mean you're feeling resigned? Like you resigned from work? I'm like, no, I'm just not really feeling very powerful right now. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I'm feeling vibrant, right? Imagine using those kind of words more and integrating that more into your daily diction and language. It's saying like, oh, I'm happy. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm sad. You say things more like, oh, I'm feeling fulfilled right now. Or I'm a bit perplexed right now. You know what I mean? I feel vulnerable right now. I feel grouchy right now. I feel trusting right now. Trusting is a good one. That's actually one thing I actually noticed that's one thing that I actually been saying. It's one thing I will say to people, because at work we do these things where we'll reach out to guests and just to see how the products are doing for them, and with like a little quick text message. And usually what I say is like, I trust that this is working out for you. I doubt people really ever hear that from others. Like, I trust that this is working out for you. It kind of does something to your brain, you know what I'm saying? So I was just saying, like, I would encourage you to kind of just look into that and try something new, try that kind of thing, and then just establish the emotional intelligence. I think that's honestly going to be the key to manifestation. I think it's going to be the key to manifesting is emotional intelligence, I think that's going to be really important here. So let's see what the cards have to say for this week, though. All right. So, I got two cards that came out at once. Yeah, I have the Five of Wands, and I also have the Knight of Swords. So, yeah, don't go rushing into petty, surface level, divisive bullshit and drama, right? And that's the Knight of Swords in reverse. So, rushing right into these things, feeling like you have to provide your opinion on some type of melee, probably that doesn't concern you. Now, I wouldn't really worry about getting too invested in that sort of thing this week, right? I would not be really worried about that. I do have the Three of Cups, though, here. So maybe, maybe this Saturday could be, maybe this Friday could be a good time to go out and be with friends. But I think it's going to be about, like, you got to make sure that you are in good company, though, too. Make sure that you're in good company. I think that's really going to be like very important here. But I think this is about, we can find the beauty in these moments and learn how to connect with other people, connect with ourselves and everything like that, But this is like emotional intelligence. I'm kind of feeling with that energy too. I'm going to draw another card. We have the Wheel of Fortune here. Yeah, so I think we can feel that things are about to turn and take a shift, but it's subtle. and it's a bit quantum. And because we are in Taurus season, energy is moving a bit slower, but that's honestly a blessing in disguise because things have been moving super freaking fast. Energy had been moving very, very fast, and I don't know if you've noticed, but it's slowed down ever since the sun went into Taurus. Thank God, because we needed this time to kind of slow down and actually be able to gather ourselves and see our surroundings. Things were just flying by us in a blur, and things finally slowed down to where we can actually kind of assess and be like, okay, where am I at? What's going on? Who am I with? What am I doing? And we can feel that things can definitely turn for the better. Bottom of the deck, I do have the King of Cups in reverse. So yeah, so like I said, I don't think this is per se a bad thing, but I will say because the king has so much authority too, and has the ability to manifest things pretty quickly because of his level of authority and his position, we have to remind ourselves that this week is that like the way that we manifest and the way that things can happen, if we are not necessarily emotionally sound or at least taking responsibility for our emotions or even identifying our emotions, we can end up manifesting some things rather quickly this week and based off of these emotions and may find ourselves in some weird ass areas. But because it's the Knight of Swords and the Five of Wands here, I don't think it's necessarily anything that's going to be super intense or crazy. It doesn't have to be. But I think this is just, like I said, a lesson in manifestation and also a lesson in emotional intelligence. That's another thing here too. So I'm going to draw a color card and then I'm going to go ahead and get out of this video. Like I said, I know I didn't do like a per se like a breakdown for each sign and stuff, but I'm just going to kind of leave this as it is, and because I felt like the message has been kind of gotten across, if you will. I really do. So I don't think I really necessarily need to go sign by sign for this one. I'm just doing what I feel called to do. So the color card for everybody. Ooh, lavender. Lavender. Connect to body, mind, and soul. Connect to body, mind, and soul. I think this is very applicable for this week. Getting grounded in our bodies. With them, and then the moon's going to go into that Gemini energy. So that's going to be the mind. And then the soul, that's like that Cancer energy, where it goes there. So it's like learning how to connect to all of these different aspects of ourselves so we can really get a clearer picture and really realize that we are being set up to manifest some of the most amazing shit. Like 3 of Cups plus the Wheel of Fortune. This is a fun ass party right here. This is an awesome party. And we can manifest this for the whole world, but it really starts with you. That's what it comes down to. It starts with you. And we can't be afraid to put ourselves out there. We can't be afraid to connect. We can't be afraid to put down things that we know you probably should put down and pick up things that, it's going to be a bit of hard work, but it's going to be so freaking worth it. And fortune is going to turn in your favor. And you're going to feel rich in spirit. You're going to feel rich in body, mind, and soul. And that's really what it comes down to, is to feel rich in those areas, right? So... all right, my friends, that's going to do it for this cosmic convergence for this week. And I trust that this message will assist you on your journey this week. And let me know how everything goes. I might pop in sometime over this week as well, too, just like a quick little video. I'm going to be working the next 6 days, so that's going to be fun, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do and stuff. So, but in any event, I definitely appreciate you guys watching and tuning in and everything. It's always very much so appreciated. I love you all so much. And I'm glad to be here and doing this work. So I'm glad. I enjoyed that. I have fun doing this stuff. So anyways, but y'all take care. Stay blessed. Be sure to check out my website if you'd like to book a personal reading with me. I actually did a bit of a facelift for my website. I actually went through and did some changes this morning. So, upgrading some of the stuff, making it look better, making it cleaner, kind of like taking off some things that I wasn't really using, that was kind of collecting dust on the website, and maybe I'll eventually add those things back to it, but I took them off because they weren't really doing much. So, but I made it cleaner, made it nicer for you guys, so definitely be sure to check out my website. The link is in the description below if you want to book a service with me. But y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful week, guys, and I will see you all on the next Cosmic Convergence. Peace.